What's up, guys? What of course you'll be seeing is some aggressive sniping highlights in the back. I've got several more videos ready to go on that, so those ones hopefully you will enjoy, as well as some other class highlights for once, but those never get the views that the sniping ones do, so hopefully I'll find a balance there. So today's topic, of course, I wanted to talk about hopeful fixes and additions, as well as more pros and cons of the beta in this video. First things first, though, if you haven't seen my original video, the first pros and cons video, I urge you to go watch that one before you watch this one, because this one, I purposely omitted the ones that weren't in the original video. They'd be a little redundant. So in this one here, I include a whole bunch of more fixes and additions. So this video here, objectively, if you came in as your first video and watched this, you'd be like, wow, this guy really hates this. But I left the pros that I've already mentioned in the original video. So if I've actually enjoyed this beta a lot more than I have recent games in the past few years. So let's get that out of the way before you hear a whole bunch of negatives. But go watch the original video, you get a better idea of how I overall feel about the beta. So before we get into it, follow along, and if you've encountered any of these, confirm it with me, or if you feel I missed any, post in the comments. But watch the original first before you comment something that was already in the original video. Let's go. My absolute number one wish for this game is to have a smooth launch that's nothing like Battlefield 4's. If it gets launched like that again, like Battlefield 4's was, I'll probably just head to Overwatch full time and just be done with the game. I refuse to go through that consumer rights abomination again. If it feels similar to the beta has, of course, post DDoS and progression fixed, then I feel like Battlefield will have a nice future between the two of us, especially because I expect the release to have some bugs, and that's okay as long as they're not game breaking. The most frustrating part of the beta I've seen, obviously, is the class progression bug, and ideally that's fixed before the game releases and not after. My big fear, though, is that it's a rather large bug in the coding, and to deal with it might take a while, or it might not be perfectly fixed before release. And I'd much rather see the game just get delayed and have that fixed 100% rather than have to deal with bullshit on release. I'd like the minimap to display ammo and health packs as well as other details that the Battlefield 4 map did that this one doesn't, such as like the direction your teammates are looking and the class they're running. That way I don't have to sort of guess of who's a medic around me. I know my minimap will tell me. That would be nice. The most obvious and most frustrating concern is the laggy servers and DDoSing that's been happening in the Battlefield beta. Hopefully, although they have no control, hopefully we don't have that again on the launch. It didn't really bug me as much, though. It frustrated a lot of people. I just played some football with my buds, went to Fan Expo in Toronto, continued working on my photography website plans, all that, so I found other things to do. But it seemed to spawn a whole bunch of other issues I'll talk about, such as the no weapons bug, which apparently was either a server-side issue where there was just prominent lag and the game struggled to load in weapons, or it exposed a feature that might have been an issue come game time, so hopefully that is released when the actual game, or hopefully that's destroyed when the game gets released full time, but perhaps it was just a byproduct of the DDoSing. Nobody really knows. Next, I've heard a whole bunch of reports on memory leaks that have caused crashes after a few rounds of play. For once, I have not encountered this issue. If you have, let me know. Post it in the forums so that DICE is aware of it as well. Hopefully this is an issue that gets fixed if it is as prominent as it sounds. Next, I've been seeing a whole bunch of... This one's bothered me a lot, actually. I've been seeing issues with random load times into matches. Even on console, where everyone should have the same hardware, ideally. I'll load into a match 30 seconds later than everyone else and the MCOMs are already planted. Or I'll be an attacker and I could leisurely stroll up and plant the MCOM and no one else is even in the server to oppose me. So either this is a bug that needs to be fixed, or there needs to be some sort of timer or player count check like Battlefield 4 had to prevent teams from getting crushed on start. And that way it becomes a battle of skill and not who has the best hardware. Skill should be the ultimate determinator. Next issue I've seen is, in terms of balance and fun, are the game mode timers, and as of September 5th these were removed, which is great, but I just wanted to touch on this for a second. Having them removed gives the devs a better idea of how well the new Conquest style plays out in terms of balance and fun, and ending the rounds early would have killed their data sets, So reversing these and at least getting a few days worth of stats to see how it plays out was a really good idea, and I'm hoping they stay gone in the base game. I'm still on the fence about bumping up the rush timer count from 32 to 24 players. I'd have to play more maps in the base game and get a sense of how everything plays out before I reach conclusion. Not to mention with the weapon progression bug, a lot of people haven't actually gotten to level up all their classes, so you don't really get a feel of how well tank balance is versus soldiers when there's no way to level up, ways to deal with the tanks. So we'll see. And the way, and this is apparently a larger map. So if other rush maps are a bit smaller, you might be able to squeeze in 4 more players per team in, and that would be probably the absolute limit. But I would not want it going back to the disaster that Rush in Battlefield 4 was, with so many different players joining the server. Maybe give it an option if people want to do it separately in like custom servers, but base servers should not have that many people in Rush mode. It kills the mode. It would kill my enthusiasm for the game. And the last thing to do with Rush, I'd like to see the 2 squads of 5 players and 1 squad of 2 removed. Fix that to 3 squads of 4 players and you're good to go. In terms of vehicle issues, what makes them, well, I'm going to make a separate video over this, but what makes them awfully overpowered to me, or not so much awfully overpowered, but how they sort of play out versus the average scheme of the game, is that if you hit them with 2 grenades and a rocket shot, all they have to do is take maybe 10-15 seconds, go behind cover, and they're back and ready to go again. And by that time, most of the assault guys don't have any more ways of dealing with them. So maybe you slow down individual rate of repairs of tanks to fix this. We'll see how it goes. I'm going to go in a separate video for this. Many people are complaining about the extreme amount of snipers in lobbies, and of course the sniping highlights in the back are not lost on me in the irony. But I think a large part of this is because of the class leveling bug. Not being able to level up means not being able to unlock assault gear needed to deal with tanks, which equals choosing a sniper in a large open map, which actually wasn't really the best choice for a beta map to begin with, and you end up with a massive amount of skewed snipers favoring long range encounters, and you have no way to deal with teamwork and tanks. So that's the biggest factor, I think. Number 2, add in that it's a beta where everyone's experimenting with all sorts of weapons and screwing around, and of course you're going to get snipers. In all honesty, there was a pretty good chance that this map in the base game will be a sniper haven anyway. Only time will tell with that aspect, but I don't believe that sniping, or like the scout class as a whole, needs a massive nerf at this point. It would be a massive knee-jerk reaction way too early. In my opinion, spotting icons should be a little bit larger, but not too much larger, not like Battlefield 4's. But because they're so small, it's like the idea of spotting people in Battlefield has vanished, so that needs to come back. Perhaps it's because there's so many rookies in the beta that don't know how to spot. Perhaps it's because everyone's just screwing around and doesn't care. Perhaps it's because it's a little buggy, there's a delay, there's a cooldown, but it seems as if sometimes, even when I've been spotting a lot, it seems like sometimes soldiers don't get spotted and other times they spot immediately. Tough to say. I've seen the issue of jumping and spawning onto a horse completely changing your kit as if you were spawning into a tank. I'm not sure if this is an intended bug or not, or I'm not sure if this was a fully featured part of the game. I'd actually sort of like some clarification on that part. Maybe if you could use the rifleman version on the horse and then go back to the scope version when you leave the horse. We'll see. Another big issue I'd like to see fixed is the sandstorm seems to appear for some players and not others. So if you're getting killed a mile away during a sandstorm and you're not really scoping in, this is probably why. This is one of the first issues that should be looked at, and if it can't be fixed at release, I think weather should be removed from the game until it is fixed. I feel like the M1911 is a little bit overpowered in close range compared to other rifles. I'm not sure if this was completely intended, but I feel like LMG's and auto rifles are actually at a disadvantage in close range versus your handgun, which seems a little weird. I've had it happen to me a few times as well, but a vehicle sometimes will just disappear when you spawn in. Obviously this needs to be fixed. I found that vaulting over rocks and small objects sometimes gets you killed in action. A little bit, the DICE knows of this though. And one of the few things, there's a few things quick I'd like to see as well here. Bayonet charge, you're not allowed to do it while you're reloading, which is weird because that's probably exactly when you probably would want to do it. So hopefully it should be able to cancel a reload animation. I'd like to see a menu. There is menu delay on console when you're moving around. Ideally, this gets fixed as well. And lastly, I'd like to see a respawn preview added like it was in Battlefield 4. Sometimes you won't get the indication that your squad mate's under fire. You spawn in, you get murdered immediately. Removing it sort of didn't make sense. Hopefully it's back in the base game. Hope you guys enjoyed. If you agree, disagree, let me know in the comments. See you later.